Hello bookish type people, I am here today to recommend you some books for Christmas. So I really love Christmas, but I can get very stressed over buying people presents because I need the exact right presents to buy people. And that can be hard when all your bookish friends already have all the books you could possibly think of. So I spent the last few weeks going through what they have out in the shops, what publishers are bringing out, and trying to find things that you can get for people that maybe they haven't got already. My warning is that if you are someone who's actually related to me, you might want to stop watching this video now because I have literally got your Christmas presents in here. Yeah, if I thought it was good enough to buy for you, I've recommended other people buy it as well. These are the best books I recommend to buy as Christmas presents this year. I'm going to start quite simply with things that are just good little presents for people who are clearly huge book lovers. This is actually something I got for my birthday, but I think it's so fantastic. I'm really recommending that people go out and buy some this Christmas. I think it's a really good stocking filler. This is called Letters to Open When, and it basically encourages the person you give it to write some letters to themselves. It includes letters such as open when you're looking for inspiration, open when you need a pep talk, open when you need a good laugh, open when you want to reminisce. They do loads of books like this. They do ones for mums and for dads, and maybe those you could actually write the letters for them and give it to them full of letters. Another perfect-ish gift for a book lover, which again I was given, is a personal library set. This includes library cards, library stamp, ink and pencil. My only problem with this is it has 20 cards. Like I have 20 books. I think I need like 400, 500 of these sets to actually put cards in all the books I have. It's really fun though, and if you're a huge book lover, you know you lend out books and just never get them back. You can't remember who you lent to, or people pretend that, oh, you definitely didn't lend me a book. This will stop them. I'm now going to recommend a couple of books for poetry lovers. Now, the poetry book I read this year, which was my favourite, was Let There Be Chaos by Kate Tempest. Kate Tempest is obviously a very popular poet among booktube, so you've probably heard of her already. I think her poems are astounding. This one is very London-centric as well, and I'm a London obsessive. I grew up here all my life, and I count things like Neil Gaiman's Neverwhere as one of my favourite books ever. This is just a perfect portrait of 7 people across a minute at 4:23 a.m. I'm gonna check that. 4:18 a.m. It's laid out beautifully across the page, and you can actually go see a clip of her reading her own poetry here. Now, the other poetry book I would recommend buying as a present this Christmas is Walt Whitman's Song of Myself. But specifically this Jonathan Cape edition, because it is the most beautiful thing I have ever seen. Inside, the poems are not just written out, they are beautifully illuminated. Now let's talk about beautiful books. I have to give loads of disclaimers before I recommend these because these are books I am paid to work on, but still I think they are the perfect Christmas present. This year Glance did some beautiful 10th anniversary editions of some of my favourite fantasy fiction there is. Things like The Lies of Loch Lamora by Scott Lynch, and of course The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson. They've got foil on them, they're beautiful hardcovers. Maybe if this is your favourite book, you can buy a fantastic edition for a friend to get them into that author too. Because you know I'm a sci-fi and fantasy obsessive, I'm going to delve into Glance for a little bit and recommend some books I work on. I'm sorry, but they are amazing. I'm not paid to say that in this video, I'm just paid to say it outside of this video. For instance, every year before I started working for Glance, a Christmas present I would be given was the Terry Pratchett calendar, which this year has returned to really classic covers, the ones drawn by Josh Kirby, and a Discworld diary. This year's is the Memorial Diary, and it has loads of quotes in it and people like Neil Gaiman and Rhianna Pratchett talking about the late great Terry. The other thing I would have been begging for this year was the Terry Pratchett colouring book. This has the beautiful, very iconic illustrations of Paul Kidby ready for you to colour. I already started mine. On the side of amazing sci-fi, I got to work on the fantastic Revenger by Al Reynolds this year, which is about a pair of twin girls who are aged about 17 and realise they can read bones, which is something that spaceships need to communicate across space. So they run away from home and go on adventures. It was very Firefly-like. I could read anything that's quite Firefly-like. On that note, if someone is just a huge Firefly fan, you could buy them this Firefly guide. Set out like a dictionary. It's really funny and it's full of loads of extra information and artwork that even as a Firefly fan I'd never seen before. I will of course recommend the book that I've been reading for the past 2 videos, which is Arcanum Unbounded by Brandon Sanderson, which is an amazing collection of his short stories. You actually don't need to have read most of his books to read most of these short stories. So many of them stand completely alone and are amazing. I never realised Brandon can write short fiction as fantastically as he can write long fiction. Another book I am loving at the moment is Rune Marks by Joanne Harris. It is a book re-exploring Norse mythology, and I am very prepared to do that at the moment, with Neil Gaiman promising to release his Norse mythology in February. I discovered Steph Swainston this year, which is very fortunate because her latest castle novel, Fair Rebel, came out. It is fantasy unlike anything else, and I also found out that one of my other favourite authors, China Miéville, is a huge fan of hers, and with good reason. For more amazing female fantasy, the Riverside Trilogy by Ellen Kushner, and this one also by Delia Sherman, is a fantastic Austen-like story, but with loads more swords and LGBT characters. The last book that I have any sort of working connection to is Smoke. This is a debut, and yet it is definitely one of my favourite books I have read all year. It's set in a world in which when you sin, when you lie or think impure thoughts, you start to produce smoke. It starts in a boarding school in Oxford and follows 3 main characters around Oxford and London, and it is beautiful. I think stylists described it as a cross between Harry Potter and Philip Pullman's His Dark Materials, and that works very well. That's a very good comparison. Another whole trilogy you could look into getting someone is Genevieve Cogman's Invisible Library series, which features libraries, alternate worlds, steampunk, and is really funny. I had not read these at all until I went to this year's 9 Worlds, which was a fantastic geeky convention that happened in August. And there I heard Genevieve talk, and I instantly thought I need to read all she's ever written, and they turned out to be amazing. I would say perfect for fans of Jasper Fforde, which, if you know my obsession with Jasper Fforde, is very high praise. So a few other YA middle grade-ish books I'd recommend. The Never Evers by Tom Ellen and Lucy Iverson. I read this last year, I think, and it's only really that it's connected with snow, that it's all set on a skiing trip, that I associate it with Christmas, but I think it is a perfect, very funny Christmas read. If you know someone who likes things like Louise Renison and Holly Smale, this is a good Christmas gift for them. Now, Stripes this year have brought out a book which is perfect for any YA fans needing a Christmas present, and also donates money to charity. For every book bought, £1 goes to Crisis, which helps people find some shelter over Christmas. This is all never before seen stories and poetry, and contains things from loads of your favourite UK YA authors, including Holly Bourne, Non Pratt, Lisa Williamson. It's again a beautiful book with sprayed edges, and the stories in it will make you laugh, they'll make you cry, they're fantastic. I think every YA fan should have a copy. If you're a fan of the Murder Most Unladylike series by Robin Stevens, there is a perfect Christmas version of it this Christmas. I haven't read this yet, I'm saving it to literally read on Christmas Day, so I can't tell you any more than that, but I love this series. It plays into my absolute obsession with Enid Blyton, but updating it, I mean, it's still set in kind of an older time period, but it makes it so much better for a modern readership with things like LGBT characters. This is definitely going to be my perfect Christmas reading. I think it would be a lot of people watching this videos too. I'm now going to talk about some illustrated books. Easily one of my favourite books of last year was The Lie Tree by Frances Harding, and Penn Macmillan have brought out a beautiful illustrated edition. I think we're just getting to a stage where all good books get an edition illustrated by Chris Riddell, like you've got all the Neil Gaimans like that. This again is a perfect addition to the shelf for someone who loves fantasy. For people who particularly like illustration and illustrated classics, I have a new illustrated Alice in Wonderland. This is the perfect gift for my mother, because my mother collects illustrated Alice in Wonderlands. Every year I basically hunt for a new one. These ones by Mabel Lucy Atwell, I believe she also did a Peter Pan, are really beautiful. They're just classic illustrations, kind of simplistic, but also just perfectly portraying the story. I'm going to supplement that present to her with an Alice in Wonderland mug which I got from Waterstones. For children's book fans or for actual children, there was a new Beatrix Potter this year, illustrated by Quentin Blake. And because it was the 150th anniversary of Beatrix Potter, Penguin brought out some beautiful special editions of some of the original books, like this badass Peter Rabbit, or this typographical Jemima Puddle Duck with sprayed edges. For any art and craft lovers you have in the family, the Very Arty box is absolutely fantastic. It is 52 activities, one for each week throughout the year, to get people working. So if you know someone who needs to be inspired, who wants a new project, this could be a really good one for them to use throughout the year. Now, this book I'm about to talk about is again one of my favourite books of the year. I've got myself one, I've already given it to a few people, and I'm probably going to give it to a few more. This is It's All Absolutely Fine by Ruby Etc. Ruby is an online artist. You might already follow her Instagram or Facebook or Tumblr. She draws fantastically funny comics and illustrations, which often are illustrating her mental health. If you know someone who loves hyperbole and a half, this is the perfect next gift for them. The other thing you could get if you want to give someone books all year round is a subscription or even a box to some sort of loot crate. One I really love is the beautiful yellow and white distinctive Illuma crate. I believe this one now runs every 3 months, and it contains specific goodies that Daphne, the person who runs it, has got designers to make for the loot crate, as well as a new book that she has picked out as something really special. A last minute edition because this book literally arrived in the post for me yesterday. And it is Otto the Book Bear in the Snow. This is the sequel to one of my favourite ever picture books, Otto the Book Bear. It leads on from the epic saga of the first book, when Otto ends up going on a grand quest and finding himself in a library. In this book, Otto and his fellow book bear friend Ernest are borrowed from the library, and they're worried that they won't get back in time for the Christmas party. I love these books so much. I just think they're the sweetest, cutest things, beautifully illustrated, and about books. I want all my books to be, you know, cyclically about books. Now I just need a book about books about books. Well guys, I hope you all enjoyed my Christmas book recommendations. What I would love for you to do now is tell me in the comments down below, ask me to recommend you a book. Maybe tell me down below who you're struggling to buy for, what kind of books they like or genres they like, or what book they've read recently. Maybe you want a recommendation for you. Tell me down below. I want to try recommending something. So with that, I will see you in my next video. Bye guys. Oh, Lift is the one who eats everything.
Once,
She's the slippy
Lift
girl, right?
wasn't in the mood to eat.
I should
She
reread
was on
these
the
books before
run.
reading Arcanum.
Mistress! Windle, her pet